Alright, so I am back, and today we're going to do a kind of a review slash how are they holding up of the, this is the Xtransbots Eligos, they're Cyclonus. Now, before we get into this figure, a couple little PSAs, if you will, real quick. First off, why I have this figure at all. So, this all started with, last weekend, I think it was, or maybe the weekend before. For you guys, I think it was 2 or 3 weekends ago. Can't remember. But at TFCon, which I did not go to, they showed, Fans Toys showed off their colored images of their Cyclonus, or not Cyclonus, their Scourge. And, you know, it's guaranteed I'm going to get their Scourge. Which means the Scourge I have, which is the Xtransbots, is going to get bumped into a sweep. Now, once he goes into a sweep, then I'll probably end up buying another one so that I can have 2 sweeps. And when I'm thinking about that, like, okay, you know, in the movie, you know, Thundercracker, I think it's Thundercracker. Thundercracker it gets turned into Scourge, and then Kickback and Shrapnel get turned into sweeps. And then Bombshell gets turned into Cyclonus, and then Skywarp, I believe, gets turned into Armada, and his Armada. You know, and this shall be, you know, Cyclonus, the warrior, and his Armada. So it's, and I had to rewatch it just because I was like, did he say that and then the sweeps were created? Like, he's in charge of the sweeps and Scourge? No, he was last to be made. So it's like, okay, so it's referring, and a lot of people have said this, you know, and a lot of people agree, that Unicron is referring to the second Cyclonus as Armada. Now, you know, that's the only scene we really see of him. The very next scene, when everybody transforms into their vehicle modes, Cyclonus turns into jet mode, and then there are now 4, or there's Scourge and 3 sweeps. So it's like he was a Cyclonus clone type thing, and he got turned into a sweep. So yeah. But anyway, that's the way I'm building my little movie Decepticon army, is with Cyclonus, Armada, 2 sweeps, Scourge, and then Galvatron. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to end up needing another Scourge, and I couldn't find it for a good price. You know, BBTS has it for like $175, which, you know, I mean, I'll pay eventually. But TF Source had this guy on sale last weekend, which I think for you guys was 2 weekends ago, for like $40 off. And then I had Source Points, which I cashed in. So all in all, this guy cost me about 110, 120, somewhere around there. I can't remember. Low hundreds. So I was like, okay. You know, I was dabbling in the idea, so I might as well do it while the price is cheap, rather than having to pick it up later at a more expensive price. And while we're on that kind of subject, you know, I always say, you know, if you can get different molds for these kind of characters, so that they are just that much more different from one another, so you're not looking at the exact same figure over and over again. You know, it's kind of a different story, like, you know, Cliff Jumper being retooled into Bumblebee for Fans Toys, like, if that happens, because it's the same mold, but they're retooled so heavily, or a little bit enough that it's like, oh, okay, it's different characters. But when they're clone troopers like this, it's better, I would say, you know, not just to get like a different color, but to get a different sculpt, if you can. That's why, like, when I was building the Insecticon army, I had gotten the Fans toys for the main ones, and then Bad Cube and MMC ones for the backups. Ultimately, I didn't like the way that looked, so I got rid of them all but the Fans toys. But anyway, so that's phase one of my PSA. The second one is because it's like I've been saying this in a lot of videos, but if I seem to forget it one time, I get shit for it. I'm not going to be doing the transformation on this figure. For the most part, I'm done doing the transformations for YouTube. There's a number of reasons for this. One, it's too time consuming. I don't have the time to sit there and master the transformation the best I can. You guys have seen my videos. I'm not the best transformer there is. There's other people that do it a lot better, a lot smoother. I'm also worried about damaging the figures, and quite frankly, I'm done with that. I spend a lot of money. This is my hard-earned money. I spend a lot of it. These things aren't cheap. If I was just getting the Hasbro stuff, at Walmart, for $20-$40, whatever they are now, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But even as cheap as he was still $120. That's a lot of money these days. Going through my analytics on the money I make on YouTube, I looked it up. Like, I've recently, it was about 9 months ago or so, where I re-clicked the monetization. So, my videos are getting monetized, so I'm making money off these videos. In those 9 months, I made $90. That's about $10 a month. And I average about 10 to 15 figures a month. Let's round it down to 10, just to make the math easier. So, I spend $120 on this guy. I'm going to make $1 off of his review. And that's lifetime, typically. $1. So, if anybody were to come up to you and be like, hey, if I give you $1, will you ruin your $120 figure? You're going to say no. So that's a big reason. And I'm not sitting here like bitching about it. I don't really care if I make money off of YouTube or not. My big thing is I just don't want to ruin my figure for nothing, essentially. And so, like I said, I'm not whining, I'm explaining. And if I don't explain it, almost every single video, I'm going to get shit for it, because I got shit for it on the Pterosaur video. And it's like, look, the Beast Mode looks awful in all the promotion shots. And who's going to pose it in that anyway? I don't get it. Anyway, alright, so let's talk about this figure. So my first thought when I got him out of the package was, one, he's got a really great paint application on this guy. Probably one of the best Xtransbots that I've seen. But when you picked him up, I'm like, man, he's kind of light for his size. Like, it is, holding it with like fans. Yeah, it's not even a question. I got the Fans toys off screen here, but I want to show them off at the end. Like, the plastic just seems very hollow, which it probably is for transformation and all that. And I'm not really like griping on him. I just was like, wow, for something this big, he seems kind of light. But anyway, so yeah, he comes with a slew of accessories. So let's get into that first. Set him over here. Pull the camera down a tab, and let's start looking at him. So first off, he's got the little Target Master dude. I haven't really messed with him. I don't really care for these things, but I know some people really like having them. So if you do, great on you. That's keeps me up at night, knowing that you guys are happy. Or no, it makes me, helps me sleep at night, knowing you guys are happy with your target masters. Is that a little too Starky? Probably. But, ultimately, wow. Look at that face. The paint on that face. Oh, wow, that is awful. That is some grade A crap right there. Good job. So posability wise, his head is on feels just like a swivel. It could be a swivel or a ball peg, who knows. But it just gets left and right. Shoulders are on ball pegs here with hinges here. So you get up to there, all the way around. No issues whatsoever. Double bend elbow. No wrist swivel or anything like that. No waist swivel, but you do get an ab crunch due to transformation. Hips are on ball joints. Knee is on a ball joint. And then the feet are also... Are they ball joints? No, you've got a hinge up here, and then another hinge inside the foot, so you get your tilt and rocker. Not a great rocker, but it is there. All in all, it's for articulation wise, it's pretty decent. Paint wise, where it is applied is garbage. But decent little dude. If that's your jam, then you're in good shape here. Size comparison. Here he is because he's standing here. Fantasy Toys Outback. So, little fella. Alright, next up we've got two guns. We've got this little more of a pistol, which is the one he used most often in the cartoon. The Cyclonus did. So yeah, just a little pistol. Looks good. Works well. Then we have the larger rifle, which I don't recall him using in the show, so I'm going to guess this is more toy related. Vans Toys came with this one too, but I think they did it in all pink, if I remember. He comes with the sword. This is for like the IDW type look, if that's a route you want to go to. Now, before we go further, just real quick, the guns, sword, and all that, they just plug into the hand, just like a normal MP. So you just line that up. This is really hard to do this through the camera. Plug it in, and then you wrap his fingers around. This is very disorienting in the camera. So, and he holds it like a champ. I've got zero complaints on this. That all tabbed in very well. Let's do the guns real quick. See if they tab in just as well. So you get the rifle. Wrap the fingers around. Yep. No issues there. And the wee pistol. Again, zero issues there. I think the pistol might be a tad small for him. It just kind of comes off little. But we'll show that off with the Fans Toys one and why I think that here in a little bit. Alright, now, next up, he's got here. He's got the your standard Xtransbot display base, which is this clear base here, and then this will just tab into the top there. Yeah, if that's the way you want to do it, then that's the way you can do it. It also comes with this orangish piece of plastic, which I don't know where this goes. I'm guessing there's something like with the cockpit maybe, but without like totally taking the figure apart, like for transformation to try and get in there to find it. I don't know where it goes. Alright. Then we get into this little Galvatron. I think it could have used a little bit more paint, obviously. The head... Does the head move? Yes, the head moves. So the head is on what appears to be a swivel. Arms are on a swivel. There's a hinge at the elbow. It's so little. Nothing at the waist that I can tell. Hips. They're pinned all the way through, so you get just up and down. And then there is a hinge at the knee. And nothing at the foot, it seems. Yeah. For a little guy, he's pretty well done. Could have used a little bit more paint, but the whole goal of him is to sit in the cockpit, which again, without digging out the cockpit to look at it, just for this, I just don't know. But I think they did a good job ultimately with that. And now he comes with a slew of faces. Alright, so we'll get into this here in a second. So here is, you get your stoic face. That's attached to the head. It's kind of a pain to get it out. So I'm not going to just show that on camera, but basically, if you really want to do it, best recommendation is to undo these two screws here, and then you pull the faceplate off, and then you can actually get in there and look at what you're doing. Because essentially there's these two tiny little tabs here that have to click behind this purple plastic down here at the bottom that you see here. So it kind of like wedges under and then clips in. So you have to really see what you're going to do. Otherwise you run the risk of shearing off these little tabs. So, alright, so we got this stoic face here, and then we've got this slightly smirky face, but it's got more creases in the side. He doesn't have that on this one. So, then we've got another stoic face. This looks like maybe season 4 Cyclonus, I think. And then we've got another kind of smirky face. Looks pretty much the same here, don't you think? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And then we've got like, oh my god, Galvatron! And it looks like they may have put some shading at the bottom or the back of his mouth, which if they did, kudos on them, because that looks great. If not, I don't know. The shadow's hitting it just right. So yeah, there's that one. Then we've got, there's a smirking face. And then we've got the rawr face. And then last face for this helmet is this one. And this is the one that actually came on. This is more of an IDW style head, or a faceplate. Now I thought like this one would go to the other head that he comes with, but it doesn't really fit in there. So unless I'm missing something, it just doesn't quite work. And the sculpts are about identical, so I'm guessing this one was just meant to go with this one. And then he comes with this head here. So you see the sculpts are about the same. It would just be like, oh, if you wanted to do this face with this helmet, or this face with this helmet, I think. So pretty much all the faces work with this helmet, and then this helmet just kind of works on its own. Now all of these heads have a hinge here. Yeah, and then it's got a key system to tab it in, which, you know, I've watched reviews on this, and maybe I just missed it, because I kind of skim through reviews sometimes, so, but I've never seen this before, and this is like the most clever head swap system I've ever seen. So let me get the faces out of the way, the little stuff out of the way, and then we'll get the figure in here so I can show you how that works. So basically, the neck here has this little notch at the bottom here, and you just take this, line that notch up, and just rotate, and there you go. That's it. That's all you have to do to take the head off. And unless he is looking directly here, it's not going to come undone. He's got to be, you know, if he's just here, he's fine. Or here, anywhere else, you know, that's not going to give you any trouble whatsoever. It's just if you go to this one exact degree of motion, will that come off. And it's probably the best head swap I've ever seen on a Transformer, just because it's like, I don't want to have to take the screws out if I don't have to. I don't want to, you know, pry and pull and hope that the joint that's like the cliff jumper, which, I mean, I love the Fans Toys cliff jumper, but it's like the way the neck piece, it's got a hinge in there, so you got to pull the whole head off the hinge, and it's like that could always put tension where you don't want it. So anyway, you could take this, swivel to the side, take the samurai head, put it on, rotate. Now you have more of an IDW style look, which is, admittedly, this might be the way he ends up on my shelf, to just kind of make him look that much different from the Fans Toys one. And this is an amazing sculpt. Like, just, I didn't read the IDW comics, but I have seen images of it, and I think this just does a great job of it. Alright, so plug that back in. And let's pan the camera back up, and we can take a look at the articulation. So yeah, like I said, the paint on this guy is amazing. I think they did a great job on this. He looks good. So the head, like I said, swivels left and right, hinges up and down. No real issues with that. Shoulders, softer ratchets around, hinges out to the side, and it's got this little slider mechanism, so you can get it even further than like if it just was like this. This is it. This is as far you can get, but you can pull that out farther if you want. So that's a good way to do that. So all that works well. You got a bicep swivel, single. Is it single or double? Yeah, double jointed elbow, which gets you a pretty good range. Doesn't look the greatest, but it'll work, and it's jamming up on me here. There we go. Not fun. So be mindful of that one. Wrist does swivel. It is tight. And then we've got ball joint on the thumb that goes to a hinge here, another hinge here. And then each finger has the hinge in and out, up and down, a hinge, and then another hinge. So pretty much fully articulated fingers going on there. But it kind of makes him look like he's got really long fingers. Waist swivel, not the greatest, but it does work. Backpack kind of comes undone when you're doing that. These hip flaps move up. Ratchets up to there. Back to there. Kind of a softer ratchet. Ratchets out to the side. Holds like a champ. There's no real floppiness on this guy. Thigh swivel. Ratcheted knees. Foot has a rocker, massive rocker, and a little bit of tilt. It gets a little gummed up just because of the way it's all kind of on top of each other here. So it's like, it looks like it wants to go further, but because this piece there, it's not going to. Same with the forward motion. So. Alright. Now, for comparison, here he is with the Fans Toys. And yeah, oh boy, this is a tough one just because let me show you. So like, there's his pistol versus his pistol. So you can see it's bigger on the Fans Toys. This one just kind of looks more like just a little gun that looks like an actual gun. Not saying little guns don't do the trick, but you know what I mean. But I think I'll give him the rifle. Again, you know, whatever I can do to make them look a little bit different from each other. Alright. So, my thought processes on this. If you're looking for a Cyclonus, like the best version of Cyclonus, like let's say he's your favorite character, Fans Toys, hands down. If you're looking for the best version of the best figure out of these two, it's the Fans Toys. Fans Toys has him beat at 99% of everything. The one thing that Fans Toys doesn't do as well as the Xtransbots is the hands. These hands are just awful. These weird, funky, almost like skeletonized hands just look awful. Especially like when you ball it up into a fist. It just looks so... And I know this is going to sound ironic, but it looks just so robotic. I mean, look at that. That just looks awful. And yes, I know they're giant robots, and they should look robotic. But if you look at him, you know, he's rounded everywhere, just about. You know, he's, you know, the smoother angles is what they're going for the newer batch of Decepticons. So he just doesn't quite pull it off right with the hands. His hands aren't that much better either because they're Xtransbots hands. They just never are good. You know, fingers are all just about the same size. They're just... yeah. I would swap both of these hands out with swappable hands any day of the week. You guys know my stance on that. Alright, now, you know, like, I think Skullface did a comparison video. I think TM Reviews did a comparison video. So if you want, like, a breakdown of, you know, this and that and everything, you know, I highly recommend them. I think TM Reviews, which I don't watch much of his stuff. It's kind of one of those, it's there. He does a pretty good comparison between these versions. The most recent of the two. Skullface, I think, does like the original release versions, which, you know, paint-wise is wildly different. So, and I don't blame him for not going back and revisiting it every time something gets a reissue. Anyway, this video's kind of dragging on now. See, I'm at 30 minutes and we didn't do the transformation. That's another reason why. I just don't have time for this. Anyway, but the short, knit and gritty, comparison of these two is Fans Toys kills this guy at every other aspect other than the hands. He looks just, because he's more slender, he looks more menacing. Like Mr. Sinister. I know I just said Sinister twice, but Mr. Sinister from the X-Men. He always looked so menacing. Yeah, he was a taller character and he was muscly, but he was also kind of like the slendery guy, and he just looked like some evil supervillain in the shadows, which he was. And it's like that's what the Fans Toys is kind of pulling off. Whereas the Xtransbots is pulling off more of that big bruiser kind of look, because you can see he's got a thicker torso. He's got, a thicker back. They both clean up pretty well, but the Fans Toys just cleans up that much smoother. Hey, look at that. I still have the QC thing on him. Just please put the QC thing on the box. Come on. Yay. Anyway, it just, I think the Fans Toys just kills him. So it's like, if you're looking for a good Cyclonus, I have to go with the Fans Toys. Now, I don't want to discourage you from getting the Xtransbot, because this is probably one of their best figures I've ever looked at. My gripes are quite simply, aesthetic-wise, he doesn't quite look like the Cyclonus I have in my head. And the hands aren't the greatest, but the Fans Toys ones aren't either. That's kind of it. He's got a better price. He's got a nice finish to him. He's got some good paint to him. The head gimmick alone is the best head swap gimmick I've ever seen. It just blows everything else out of the water. Let me just kind of do that real quick. Which gives him such a more badass look for being Armada, which is what I wanted him for. So it's like, I recommend him for, if you're going with the IDW look, I recommend him if you're going for what I'm doing, and having just the second Cyclonus, the Armada, that's where I recommend him. The Fans Toys is better, technically, but it's one of those cases where you really aren't going to go wrong if you did go Xtransbots. This version, I think the original one, the paint was just wildly different, and I didn't like it. But this one, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I can't do that. I gotta give him a solid 10. I think it's a solid figure. It's a really good figure, guys. It is a little bit cheaper than the Fans Toys. It's not as well painted as the Fans Toys. But it's just one of those, it's one of those cases where, had he not come out, I'd be 100% fine with this guy as my Cyclonus. Damn it, Xtransbots. You did such a good job with this guy. This repaint, like I said, I think the first one, let me see if I can find a picture of it, since we're just rambling anyway. Let's see, Xtransbots. No. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the original, more of a blue paint. It's not coming out very well on the camera. More of a blue paint, and the head sculpt looks awful. You got just that off-white plastic for the legs and arms. Yeah, that just looks awful. But, just kind of goes with the Scourge, too. Like this first Scourge I didn't like, but the reissue is a much better figure. So yeah, like I said, I think it's a solid 10. It's a great figure. I do recommend him. You won't go wrong with him, especially if you get him on a good price like I did. $120. Well worth it. It's a lot of fun. I wouldn't recommend transforming it. It is Xtransbots at the end of the day, and they never go back right. They never do. So yeah, I guess that's really all I've got with him. Yeah, highly recommend him.